Welcome to the Ready Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm Case Lane, and this is your podcast if you are thinking it's time to take control of your future and have the lifestyle you really want by starting your own business. This is episode 31, the Ready Entrepreneur Tour, Stop 1, Confidence. Where does confidence come from? I'd love to know, because mine took a long time to show up and even seems to elude me every now and then when I need it. And, I've talked about confidence before in this podcast because it's absolutely critical for anyone who's aspiring to start a business. But the subject always comes back, right? Because you want to know where to find the confidence to start your business. Confidence comes from doing. So now you're thinking, okay, that's a roundabout and useless answer. Like, what does that mean? Just think for a second, though. Doing, starting your own business. It does not mean you have to, build a storefront on day one and start handing out flyers to strangers, because you don't want to do that and you don't have the confidence for that, and it's a whole different level of confidence anyway. What doing means in this context in terms of building your confidence is you have to start something related to your business, right? So just one little thing to get you going. So let's say you want to open a store. Take 15 minutes today, like seriously, right after this podcast, take the first 15 minutes to spend some time just looking up how to open a store in your geographic area. Just get an idea about what's involved. And then, get something going in your mind about what you would have to do in order to complete those steps. And then if you're thinking, well, I don't even have an idea of like opening a store or anything, then think about business ideas that you have maybe thought about in the past, or spend some time looking at ideas that other people are talking about when they talk about how to get a business going. Or think about all the things that people complain about. And don't tell me you don't know anyone who's complaining about something, because people are complaining about all sorts of things. What are people complaining about in terms of products and services, or even just in general in the world, where maybe there is an opportunity for an aspiring entrepreneur? So you could even go over to the website readyentrepreneur.com and see what some of the ideas are there for you. But the whole concept, this very first part of confidence, is that you're moving forward. You make something happen. And you may find out when you do that you become super interested in the subject, in whatever the product, the service, the industry, the idea, the concept, whatever it is. You might just surprise yourself and get totally swept up in this plan that you've had for years to start your own business. And then as you get caught up and excited, you start doing more research and talking to people and looking at things differently. And then you may realize you've got the confidence to start your business because you have become a person of knowledge about that particular subject. And knowledge is a wonderful confidence booster. It's a huge one, extremely important. As you launch into the idea of becoming an entrepreneur, you become more and more knowledgeable about the possibilities. And the more you know, the better you feel. And then you realize that anyone who's ready to move forward can start a business because you've done your work, you've done your research, so that feeling that you might have had before that you were afraid because of an imposter syndrome or something like that is going to disappear because you've made yourself a person of knowledge in that area. So one of the most important ways to obtain knowledge is to read. And there are just thousands of books on entrepreneurship. There's biographies and autobiographies of famous people, famous entrepreneurs. There's books on skills like building your confidence and so much more. And each book can be a mini course in itself that helps you think about your confidence and how you want to move forward. Take, for example, James Altucher's books, Choose Yourself and Reinvent Yourself. And both of these books are just like straight talking idea generations that help you see, the big picture for your achievements. And in Reinvent Yourself in particular, Altucher says there are many studies that show the key to contentment and confidence is three things. And the first is grow competence in a pursuit you love. So this is what I'm talking about. become somebody of knowledge in something that you're really interested in. And you already know this feeling. You already know this concept from sports or from the arts. You got better at playing soccer when you played more soccer and learned more about the game. You got better at basketball. You got better at playing the piano when you learned to read more notes. And the better you got, the more confident you felt. Because especially, I know part of it is feedback, right? Because people say, wow, you've really improved. You become so much better at playing the piano. But you know that it's knowledge and practice, but knowledge as well. Because if you know the rules of the game, you're going to be better at playing it, right? So the same is true of your business pursuits. The more you actively pursue your business idea by researching and preparing to launch your business, the more confident you will feel. You don't have to tell anyone what you're doing. If you're thinking, oh, everyone's going to think I'm weird to start a business, you don't have to tell anyone. Don't tell anyone what you're doing. Do it yourself, very quietly. You don't need a big announcement that you're, planning to become a Global 500 mogul and go to Davos and espouse on the issues of the world. You don't have to do that. Just work on your idea and start small. One idea. Okay? After this podcast, you're going to go and start working on that one idea. You're going to take 15 minutes. So let's say you want to start an online store. Go ahead and Google how to start an online store and read one article and then think about the information. So don't just read it like, oh, la, la, la. No, read it and think about the information that's in the article. Make sure it's a good article, highly ranked or whatever, from a source like Inc. or Business Insider or some entrepreneur magazine or something like that. Take a look at the steps that the activities are that are involved, that's basically there that they're explaining to you. So take a look at it step by step and think about what are the activities you can do right now that you're all set up for, that you already have knowledge, experience, money, whatever, and think about the ones that are missing. So that's the gap between your dream and doing. And that's a good start. That's a perfect place to start. Because the next thing you're going to look at is then for each of those things that you don't think you can do right now, you begin researching those and trying to find a way that you can get it done. Maybe you need to outsource it because it's just totally not your thing at all. Or maybe there's a way to do it. There's a cheap online way to do it. There's an app for that. Maybe there's an app for that. So there's a lot of different things that you can think about. But what's happening as you go through each one is you're getting more knowledge, right? You're getting smarter about it. You're becoming that person who knows something on something. I remember when I started ebooks and publishing, I was the only person I knew doing it, and people were talking about pricing online for ebooks and saying, well, they should be cheaper because there's no production costs and all this kind of thing. And I was trying to explain, how the pricing works because I had that knowledge. And it's not even like I'd sold many books online or anything, but I'd taken some courses. Actually, at that point, I don't even think I'd taken a course. I'd just been reading things online. So I had more knowledge at that point. And it made me even more confident, like, this is something that's new and exciting that people are interested in, and I'm the person of knowledge, and that gives you confidence. So you keep going through those steps. Read about people who are doing things you want to do. That's always fun. Because you probably find out if you look at their backgrounds, they're not smarter than you. They don't have some magic power that you don't have. They didn't go to Hogwarts. So what did they do to just be in that position? How did they do it? And that's going to give you confidence as well, because you're going to see that probably they just started working. They just started focusing on the business. They just knew that they wanted to do that. And there's probably some reason for it. A lot of people got laid off, so they started looking at things that they could do online, or they wanted to spend more time at home or something like that. So you can see how this whole process evolves, how people become entrepreneurs, and that gives you the confidence as well. Now, I've wanted to run a business my whole life, and I didn't know what to do in the sense of how do you start a business. I didn't even know how to ask what to do. You know what I'm saying? Does that sound weird? It's just that if you grow up in a place where nobody's running a business and nobody even thinks about it, everybody just thinks you're born, you live, you die, and you get it, in between you get it, like a decent paying job with a pension or something. But if you don't, so think about that. If you've never actually been around anybody who's never done it, what are the questions to ask? Because maybe everybody gets handed their business. You don't even know how people got to have the businesses that they have. So you have to explore, you have to study, you have to read. So you don't even know what to ask. You don't know where to find the information, despite the fact that business and commerce and investment run our whole lives. There's no discussion, not in school or wherever you worship or the recreational places or something. Nobody talks about it, even though it's so foundational. So this is when you have to take your basic education into your own hands. I mean, you'll get a government education or maybe private school education, but it's going to cover the basic things: reading, writing, arithmetic, history, science, maybe geography, the arts, music, and definitely sports, right? So what about everything else you need to know? Nobody's going to teach you that. You'll do tests, you'll write essays, you'll do calculations, you'll put your drawings hanging on the wall, you'll speak in front of your class. These are all great, good, basic skills, but you're not taught how to build on those skills, where to learn more, or even what you can use for your future if you want to go into business. That part you have to figure out for yourself. And basically, business itself is the same, right? You have to figure it out within your industry, within the product or the service that you want to deliver to the marketplace. So you might follow a course about how to do it, you get a mentor, but at the end of the day, you have to figure out how to do the work to make your business successful. And you learn about that work only by doing. And as you do, you build your confidence. So there are all these people, you know the famous stories, Steve Jobs in his garage, and Bill Gates tinkering with a computer, and Sam Walton, scoping out all the other mom and pop stores to see what they're up to. These are all about people taking action, right? I mean, take the Sam Walton story. You can get mad at him if you want for getting rid of mom and pop stores, but he walked in, he basically took action. He started doing. He had an idea that those stores were not delivering a certain level of service. And so he walks in there, he sees what they're up to, and he basically creates something that doesn't do the bad things that he thought they were doing, or however, whatever. The story's something like that. But basically, the idea is you start with nothing, but walking around and checking out what other people are doing, and then figuring out what the gap is based on what you see that's missing in the marketplace. You can take that action. You can do that right after this podcast. You can go ahead and take that same kind of action on whatever business, product, or service you're interested in bringing into the global marketplace. And the more action you take, the better you're going to feel about your chances of moving forward, because you're going to see how you can actually get it done. You can also read books about confidence. I'm a big reader. I'm a big reader, and I'm a big traveler. And I go on and on about reading and traveling as a ways to build your knowledge. Think about a book like Napoleon Hill's classic Think and Grow Rich, which absolutely emphasizes self-confidence as part of your ticket to success. So the first step in the book is desire. So I'm going to assume that you already have the desire to be an entrepreneur and so on, because you're listening to this podcast. Thank you. And thank yourself, because you know you want to start a business. You've already covered that part. In the second step of Hill's book, he talks about the self-confidence formula. So the second step is called visualization of and belief in the attainment of the desire. So that's his fancy way of saying, make sure you have a clear idea of what you want, okay? So you go into the book and you can get the actual wording of the self-confidence formula, and what Hill's instruction is that you repeat it every day to memorization. So you want those words where you tell yourself that you will be self-confident and you will achieve what he calls your definite chief aim in life. And he believes that continuous repetition of these words will embed the idea in your mind. That's the idea, a lot of other writers call affirmations, where you're constantly telling yourself, I will do it, I will be self-confident, I will become the person I want to be. And so you just keep saying it over and over. And I hope that for you too. I mean, if you need to repeat it all the time, that's great. But at the end of the day, you've just got to have it in your mind. It just has to be embedded in your DNA. So you start there with a book like Napoleon Hill's, or start with that book, Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. You can go from there to turn words into actions. And there are just so many different ways to approach it. And of course, he lays out a plan. But remember, it's an older book, so there's some wording in there which might make you cringe if you're younger. There's definitely politically incorrect wording that would not be used today. But the overall message is definitely a classic. Another timeless classic in the confidence realm is Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. And this book, I'm going to say, and people might not like this, but it's kind of basically about sucking up at the office. It's a great book. I love the book. It's a fantastic book. And of course, it's been a bestseller forever. But it's really about how to kind of get people to work with you and to be well thought of and to be somebody that people come to. So if you are struggling with confidence, this book is a really good guide, because it helps you think through the changes that you can make so so that you can work better with people and be more successful. And that success will help your confidence grow. If you're working your 9 to 5 and that's not really working the way you want it to, you pick up a book like How to Win Friends and Influence People, you put into practice those activities, you start to see some results, and guess what happens? You're breaking out of your shell, you're more actively participating, you're getting feedback, and you're building your confidence. Now you might say, wait, Case, that's not the confidence I need to build my business. That's going to just get me, promoted and more responsibilities at work where I'm trying to escape the 9 to 5. It is the confidence that you need to build your business because you'll use those skills in business. But the book also serves, I would say, basically 2 purposes. Yes, it's helping your work situation wherever you are now, and it helps you prepare for your own business. Those are skills that you just will use everywhere. So in the end, the key to confident success is to start getting active in your business, and you start building knowledge, and you start building a body of information in your head that makes you feel closer and closer to being that entrepreneur you want to be. Learn something new about the idea you want to put into the global marketplace. After this podcast, just go and learn something new about the idea, or learn something new about how to get an idea if you don't have an idea yet. And then build on those learnings until you have the knowledge and the experience to begin the activities to get your business going. That's where your confidence is going to come from. There is a methodology used by the United Nations to develop entrepreneurs, and it refers to the 10 personal entrepreneur competencies. The 10 personal entrepreneurial competencies. And one of those 10 is independence and self-confidence. I know that's 2, but it's listed as one of the 10. Independence and self-confidence. The UN says entrepreneurs have a quiet self-assurance in their capability or potential to do something. A quiet self-assurance. I really like that. Because so many people, they might see this sort of like what I call rah-rah people who are claiming you can make $1 million in 5 minutes running this type of business, blah, blah, blah. And you might consider, are those really the entrepreneurs I want to be? Or do I want to be one of the UN's quiet, self-assured, capable of potential to do something entrepreneurs? I like that definition much better. That's the confidence that you want to build. You want to have the confidence where you feel strong in your abilities because you've done the research and you know what it would take to develop the business of your dreams. In my book, Life Dream, 7 Universal Moves to Get the Life You Want Through Entrepreneurship, I call Move 2, Ignite Your Motivation. So in Move 1, you make the decision that you want to be an entrepreneur. And then in Move 2, you must stay motivated to stick with your decision. And you use motivational tools like focusing on your life dream of becoming an entrepreneur and what it would mean to achieve that goal. And you can keep focused by doing work constantly related. I won't even call it work. Let's just call it doing some research, checking stuff out, but things that are related to the business you want to build or just the very fact that you want to be an entrepreneur. So it's about confidence. I know it's easy to say and it's a lot harder to implement, but just try that one first step. Do one thing, one little thing related to becoming an entrepreneur, to starting your business, to research an element of your idea, go and look at your potential competitors. I don't like to say that because you're identifying a gap in the marketplace and you're doing something different, but people operating in your realm, go ahead and see what they're up to, learn the things that they do that you don't like, see where that gap is that other customers don't like either. Spend an hour brainstorming, knowledge, experience that you have, and all the business ideas you have thought about in the past, and you thought you could bring to fruition, why you thought that you could bring them to fruition. Give yourself some time. One of these things is your business that you can do. Just get started on that first step, that very first step. Step by step, activity by activity, your confidence is going to grow. Okay, that's it for episode 31 of the Ready Entrepreneur podcast. We are on the Ready Entrepreneur Tour, so we've just finished stop 1, which is confidence. At Ready Entrepreneur, my goal is to help you deliver the value you have to the global marketplace. This is for aspiring entrepreneurs who have business ideas, you have a business idea in your head, or you think you know that you want to be an entrepreneur. Well, this is the best time in history to be making the move to get started. You can actively participate in a high-tech global marketplace and deliver the value that you have to consumers who want or need the product or the service that you have identified. So but remember, the number one decision, if you're still thinking that you're an entrepreneur and you're still, just quite haven't got there, just get started. Like I've been talking about, confidence, just get started. Take 15 minutes, just 15 minutes to research that first idea or item or concept that you want to help you get started with moving forward. Once you make that decision, you will find yourself operating in the great, grand, broad, exciting world of the global economy with plenty of tools and resources to support you, including over at readyentrepreneur.com. So you can move forward with no more excuses. Be efficient, be consistent, be persistent, and start your business today. This has been episode 31 of the Ready Entrepreneur Podcast, the Ready Entrepreneur Tour, Stop 1, Confidence. If you want to learn more, keep up with the Ready Entrepreneur world, read blogs for rising entrepreneurs, access training, download helpful PDFs, find resources for getting started with your business, sign up for the mailing list so I can keep you up to date with tips and ideas and strategies and giveaways and so on. Visit readyentrepreneur.com. Let me know your questions and burning topics you want covered in the podcast. Send me an email. Contact Case at readyentrepreneur.com. Thanks so much for listening. This has been the Ready Entrepreneur